We already got guys getting injured. That's how football it is right now. And they're even kicking guys out of practice. They're sending them to the sideline. We have coaches who are overcoming cancer. There's just all kinds of crazy stuff going on in the world of sports today, and we're going to cover all of it. So I'm really, really excited that you get to be a part of it along with me. And I don't know where this is going to go. It's going to go somewhere fun. So if you're in your car, hopefully you have your seatbelt on. And if you're not, find a seatbelt, buckle up, and let's go. Okay, so I saw the story about Major League Baseball this weekend is actually going to have a baseball game inside of Bristol Motorsports Speedway in Tennessee. And it's going to set an attendance record. And if you see how it's configured, the baseball field has been made on the infield, which is insane, how they could actually grow turf or bring it in or whatever, because, baseball fields are so immaculate. Those groundskeepers are like, they're the most ADHD people in the world. Like, everything is just so pristine and perfect. And when it's not perfect, they come in every other inning and make sure that it's perfect. I love going. That's my favorite thing about going to baseball games, is just seeing the field. Anyway, so they have these incredible fields in the middle of the Motor Speedway. 85,000 people are going to watch a baseball game. Now, Bristol is a shorter track. It's kind of, you're on top of each other, so it's kind of conducive the bleachers, the stands, to actually have a sporting event. Now, they've done basketball games on aircraft carriers. They've done outdoor hockey games. And as I looked at this, I thought, because I would want to go. And by the way, they're claiming that they've had people buy tickets for this from all 50 states, all the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, you name it. Any sovereignty of the United States of America is showing up in Bristol, Tennessee to watch a baseball game in a football or in a motorsports stadium. So people are interested, and it sounds cool and it looks cool. But I thought, hey, let's do something a little different. You know how they have, like, they call it Asian fusion, food, or you have this, it's right. it's like fusion, like, Mexican fusion food, like, just.
What do they call it in like Texas? They get the Mexican American.
Tex-Mex, right?
There you go, Tex-Mex.
Yeah, Tex-Mex, Anyways, I thought, why don't we do that in sports? Let's do a sports fusion.
Uh-oh.
And because the flavor's better, by the way, when you infuse, like, Japanese and Thai food, or Chinese food and Korean barbecue, or so, whatever. But don't go to a Chinese food if they're going to serve you a steak. All right, that's the rule. You cannot go to a place that says it's something and then you order what it is on the now. If it's a fusion place, that's different. But if it's one specific ethnicity, stick with the ethnicity. Do not go different.
I may disappoint you here, Scott. I'm one of those guys who, like, I love trays because they separate all my food.
Okay, yes.
Like my mac and cheese here,
touch.
My potatoes
right,
here,
yeah.
The gravy there. Like, I don't want it all mixed
right.
and I don't want the fusion.
Yeah.
The right mix. You may win me over, but you may have to work on me on this one.
Well, so just so you know, it goes in your stomach that way too. It separates itself out, so it never touches. Just so you know.
Okay.
You can sleep better now knowing that your food goes in compartmentalized.
That's good to know.
So my idea was, why don't we do multiple sports at one time? I mean, how cool would it be to see the motor race going on? And maybe it's not the actual NASCAR. Maybe it's like a truck series, or maybe it's a motorcycle series, or maybe it's, a lower division or whatever. I don't care. And so you've got a circus going on of sports activity. In the infield, you've got a baseball game going on, and around it you have this. And I think it'd be really cool, right? So then I started thinking about, well, what other sports could we mesh together and have them simultaneous? So think about here in Utah. Okay, imagine having the Utah Mammoth and the Utah Jazz playing simultaneously together, side by side, in some stadium, and you have all these fans, and who cares if it's cold, right? Who cares if it's outside for the basketball guys, or maybe you have a little bit warmer and you keep the floor, the rink, you keep it cold. But would you not want to go? I mean, it'd be just crazy to go watch, because I know it'd be like, well, which way, how, and maybe you could kind of time it up a little bit, where it's like, okay, you guys are going to go for a little while, and then you guys are going to go, and we're just going to have this festival of sports and this like fusion of all these different sports happening at the same time. Now, what you could do is you could throw in the WNBA, because like no one watches unless it's Caitlin Clark. And so now you could, or maybe you throw in some of the sports in Utah that aren't as followed, like RSL, which is doing amazing right now. You get lacrosse in there, you get your rugby team in there, and you mix them with your basketball team, and you do this total fusion thing. Right? Would that just not be, or have an NFL football game in the middle of Bristol Motorsports Speedway, having it all go on at the same time? We would die as sports fans.
The venue I like, having football at Bristol. I grew up in kind of a NASCAR family, so this is kind of a crossover I like.
Yes.
That Tennessee and Virginia Tech played a football game at Bristol a few years ago, and it was awesome. It was so cool.
They did.
I'm down for that. Once you start mixing and mashing the sport, have you ever seen the movie
You don't need
Basketball?
it in your tray, do you? You don't need it in yours. You can just put them all together, right?
No. Have you seen the movie Basketball?
Basketball? No, I missed that one.
It's silly, it's stupid, but they mix and mash basketball and baseball into this little game where you're shooting free throws to advance bases. Kind of what you're saying. Ski joring. Have you heard of this?
No.
You're mixing skiing and some rodeo stuff.
Oh.
I don't know if you've ever seen.
I wouldn't have guessed rodeo on that one. Ski joring?
The skiers are being pulled behind the horses on basically like a wakeboarding rope, fast, 30 miles an hour, and they have to go over jumps. They have to go through like a obstacle course.
So are they in the water?
They go over water at some point and sometimes end up in the water. But they're coming flying down the hill, being dragged by a horse. So we're combining some sports here.
Any way that someone can almost die in sports, I'm all for it. Like
entertainment value.
I'm totally up for that. So I saw this and I was just like, wow, would that not be the coolest thing in the world? Okay, moving on. Now, I just happened to turn on the TV, and when I got here this morning, and they were showing this, and there was no sound, and they were showing a player, and it was a basketball player, and I didn't recognize him. I didn't know who it was. And I'm like, and then all of a sudden I'm like, that's Luka. And I was like, oh my goodness. Like he looked insanely different. And I'm like basketball season just got over with. Like it hasn't been that long. We're into July, right? And basketball for him ended in what, May?
Yeah.
I mean it's like late. maybe 3 months, close to that, 2.5 months. He looks like a goddess or a god, whatever one. Whatever you're into, it's what he looked like. And I'm like there's no baby fat. There's no doughboy anymore. I'm like, this
it looks
guy,
like he got onto LeBron's regiment pretty quick.
Wow. And I wonder if he did get it from LeBron. Now he goes, look, I got inspired by Michael Jordan and Kobe, right?
Right.
But you don't think LeBron maybe had
being
LeBron
there day to day with LeBron and seeing what he's doing every morning, every night, that's the thing with LeBron. If you ever see behind the scenes stuff, when they're watching film, they're at practice, all these guys are like sitting on their phone in the locker room. LeBron's like always doing these band workouts. Yeah. He's sitting on the bike. He's warming stuff up with with these pads. Like there is a constant attention to his body, and I don't know if you guys have noticed, it's paying dividends. He's still playing basketball. Right. So maybe take some advice from that guy.
Well, and this is what's so fascinating about Luka, to see what kind of impact it's going to have. Yep. Now part of me said, look, maybe it has a little bit to do with being in LA, because everybody in Los Angeles just looks good. I don't know if you've ever been there.
You think he's had work done? Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's possible that he could have had work done, but he's like, look, if I'm going to fit in here, if I'm going to make any kind of waves here, I got to kind of, go native here. And because there are no ugly people in California. And if there are, they hide them. We don't see them, because I've been there before, and I've seen all these people, and if you're going to play for the Lakers, you got to look different. And he got the memo because, man, he looks hot.
He Scott, he not only did trim up, looks like he's got the tan going.
Yes.
So, yeah. I mean,
by the way,
we'll see what that looks like on the floor, though, because here's the deal. What Luka does on the floor, much like Nikola Jokic, is oftentimes like not pretty. He's bumping into you. He's slowing things down. He's kind of herky-jerky with his movements in the lane. He's obviously really fun to watch and a smooth operator, but some of what he does doesn't really require him being more explosive than you or faster than you. So I am curious to see what it does to his game and maybe if it adds an element that we haven't quite seen yet.
I just think it's fascinating. And I would say of all the players in the NFL or the NBA, I would go that he'd be the last one I think that would make that kind of change. And you just there's something about certain guys when they just kind of they buy in, they drink the Kool-Aid, and they just go, I gotta be all in on my career and taking care of myself. And so it'll just, if anything, it'll just be fascinating to watch and see. Because, if Luka goes through the year like he did last year and he plays 50 games, he's going to go, forget this. I'd rather be a doughboy than to put all this work in and only still playing 50 games. So it'll be fascinating to see what happens. He's in such a great position where he's in an organization that is so high profile. He's one of the top players in the NBA, and it looks like he's really positioning himself to be a factor, big time in the NBA moving forward. All right, moving forward, I just wanted to kind of give this one a shout out. Of course, talked briefly about it with Sean O'Connell on his show before we came on the air, and Deion Sanders, of course, had a press conference, and a lot of people were speculating that he was going to step down at Colorado, but he made an announcement that he's beaten bladder cancer, which is pretty shocking in the sense that no one knew. I think he was kind of having some health challenges during spring football and some of that stuff, but no one really knew what was actually happening, what was going on with Coach Prime. And so I just want to give him a shout out. I'm just really happy about that actual thing happening. And, I have a very personal, I guess, connection to cancer. One of my sisters passed away 3 years ago, and, very healthy, young. She was 56 when she passed away, and it happens quickly. She had pancreatic cancer, and it just boom. And what was courageous to me was the grace with how she handled it, and how she said, look, I'm done. I can't beat this, and I'm not going to die in a hospital and go home and be with my family. And I just thought that was an extremely courageous thing to do in losing to cancer, and so I know there's a tremendous amount of effort put into fighting and beating cancer, and so I'm really it's very personal to me, and really happy when someone actually does that. Okay, let's talk about this. Happy Gilmore 2. Did you ever see Happy Gilmore?
Loved it. The first one.
Yeah.
The first one, just to be clear.
So I'm just like, I look at the list of people, and I'm excited. I haven't watched it yet. I absolutely am going to watch it. I really, I don't know. I'm a person that appreciates Adam Sandler. A lot of it is he's a guy that doesn't take himself too seriously. He's a guy that really is very loyal to his friends. He's a guy that, he'll invite everyone to be in his movie. And I feel like that's what he's done in Happy Gilmore too. Like if you play golf and at any level as a professional, you are in Happy Gilmore. Like Tony Finau, I believe, is in Happy Gilmore. I mean, I was reading through the list of all the golfers. Of course, you have the big names, but you have some big old names. Jack Nicklaus is actually, and he apparently says, I get mistaken for being Arnold Palmer, and it's just a funny thing. And so I just kind of laugh at like all the different sports people that are actually in Adam Sandler's movie. Now, I was in a movie once. I don't know if you know this, Porter. And it's the number one question I get asked. So I made like a cameo appearance, but it really wasn't a cameo because I wasn't as myself.
Oh, okay.
I actually played an offensive lineman.
Okay.
Believe it or not, yeah. And I'm an offensive lineman who actually gets knocked out in the movie, and someone steals my clothes.
Love it.
And they kidnapped Dan Marino, right?
You were in Ace Ventura.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, I love the movie,
but
I always forget that
right.
that cookie that you were there.
Right. Well, because it happens very fast. The only way you know I'm in the movie is if you stick around and read the credits.
Right.
Like because my part is so quick. And the number one question people ask, how much money did you get paid for doing that?
Mm-hmm.
And so I always like to embellish because, you know, they think it's a big deal. I go, oh, they pay me like $10,000 to do that for the day. They're like, no way. Oh yeah, it was just incredible. And the reality is, I got paid $150.
Yeah, and
I got lunch.
I was gonna say I've been on some of those sets before.
Yeah. $150. I got lunch.
You stand around a lot, and
a ton. Yeah, a ton. And on top of it, like we were begging to get lines because we know if you get lines, then you become. And so you have to be part of the SAG, you know.
Yes.
And I guess it's a thing, and they get really offended.
Oh, it's very much a thing.
Yeah, and I don't want to mess with their thing, right? But I would like lines in the movie.
Yeah, no, I've done like background stuff, like fill in. So I'm not the actual character, but let's say the character can't actually ride a horse.
Right.
I'll ride a horse. You can see the behind, right?
So you're a stand-in, or you?
I've done a
little
bit of that.
Double?
I've done a little bit of that.
Are you a stunt double?
I haven't like done stunts, but
who do you stand in for?
So I've done a little bit in a few westerns.
Okay. Which ones?
Yellowstone season 3.
No way.
Didn't make the air, but I filmed a few things for them. Nice. I don't think they ever used it. And then there's a few you haven't seen or are not released yet. But like you said, no lines. That's like a line that you have to unionize. You have to be part of the crew. Yeah. So I hang out in the back and have lunch.
Yeah, what's fascinating about that, not to go down a rabbit hole here, but we'll go for a minute. So I was on a reality TV show, which I did get to speak in quite often. And they had strict guidelines. So they had the film crew, they had the lighting, and they had sound. And they all were independent. And so they go, oh, yeah, lighting needs a break. So you'd be right in the middle of, like, your interview, and they go, yeah, I got to take a break.
And each of those people has someone there that's repping them for the union. So you can't – it's very –
No. So it just stops.
Very odd.
Yeah. Everything just stops.
Operationally.
Yeah. So then you come back, and they go, oh, the camera guys, they got to take their – you know, and it's not like, hey, I'll just take your lunch and your break. And so we would be filming at 1:30 in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, because everyone had their break that they had to take. So fascinating stuff. Speaking of breaks, why don't we take a break? And we come back. We have none other than the legendary Super Bowl winning defensive lineman. He was an Outland Trophy winner at BYU, and recently, I guess, sat down with the President of the United States or his representatives. None other than Jason Buck is going to join the program here when we return on The Drive with Spence Checketts, ESPN 792.1 FM. All righty, sports fans, welcome back. It is The Drive with Spence Checketts here on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM, Utah's #1 sports talk and home of the Utes. Hey, ESPN 700 listeners, help children at the road home start school in style. Stop by the Advocates in Ogden, American Fork, or Murray. Pick up an apple from the tree, and you can supply clothing and backpacks for children at the road home. Every child deserves an advocate. Stop by today. See ESPN700sports.com for more details. All right, I'm Scott Mitchell here, filling in for Spence. Just by way of announcement, I'll be here all week, twice on Saturday, and tip your waiter. All right, Jason Buck, I believe, is joining the program all the way from St. Anthony, Idaho. Of course, Jason, Super Bowl winning defensive lineman with the Washington Redskins. Washington Commanders. My bad. And he's an Outland Trophy winner at the old Brigham Young University Cougars. Jason, hello, my friend. Welcome to the program.
Yep. On my way back from a family reunion. You know, never forget my Idaho roots. But
yes.
Also don't forget my Redskin roots.
Yes. You're a crazy man. That's all I got to say. Okay. Yeah. You got fall camp starting in college. Of course, the NFL has started. When you went to training camp, what was the thing that you looked forward to the absolute most when the football season started?
Well, I look forward to camp being over. We all did. Right?
So your first thought on day one is like, when is this thing going to be over?
Dude, yeah. I mean, as a veteran, you're like, all right, this is the most wasted time ever. You know, just trying to get veterans hurt. You don't. It's just pointless to go. The 4 preseason games we would do. One year I did 5 preseason games because we had the Hall of Fame game. And, you know, these college kids don't know. We'd do that one year I did 7 weeks of two-a-days. That's like a whole 4-year college career, you know?
Yeah.
It was just brutal.
It's funny that you bring this up because I was kind of going through asked the same question literally today, and that was my response. You know, I mean, I'm trying to think of the things, you know, it's like, it's fun to get the season started. It's fun to kind of be around the guys again. It's fun to know, you know, hey, what the optimism and all that, and then, you know, hope springs eternal with the new season and all these things. But literally, that was my first thought when I was asked the question, when is this going to be over? Like, you never really think of, and were there things you did? Because I actually did things that helped me kind of convince myself, or it helped me to kind of move camp along. I'm curious, were there any things that you did that kind of helped you get through it?
You know, I didn't have any rituals. Looking back on it, I wish I would have flown my wife Roxy out more often. She'd go to Idaho, you know, be with her family in St. Anthony, and I just fell. And I hated it. It's probably the hardest time of my life. You know, I'm like,
sounds like
I'd go to the. I was just saying I'd go to the local theater, Scott.
Right.
Because everybody go to the bars, you know, that one night off.
Right.
So I'd go to the local theater, and I'd be the only person in the theater up in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, watching whatever movie they had on, you know, all by myself.
See,
If there's another Mormon there, we might have 2 guys sitting in the movie theater.
So I had I would try to make it where I was as cozy and as comfortable as home. In fact, today, and see, these guys make a whole lot more money than we did back in the day. But today, these guys, they bring their motorhomes, and so they have this nice place to go hang out in between practices. They're not in some dorm room somewhere because most teams go to a college or whatever. And so they of course, these are quarterbacks, Jason, by the way, because the quarterbacks think of these smart things like this. And so they got a nice place.
Well, they have the budget, Scott. They got a better budget than anybody else.
Hey, all I know is these defensive linemen these days, they're making $40 million a year. So Myles Garrett and a few of those boys are making a lot of money. So, and then there were things you did in your mind, and I know it's a dumb thing, and I always, so it's like, so I don't count today, right? I count, so today isn't here, so it may be 30 days, but to me in my head, it's only 29. There's just these little dumb things that I do all the time just to kind of, to pass the time and kind of get over a lot of things. Okay. So understanding, go ahead.
I was saying, as the veterans went back in our day, it was kind of rite of passage. We'd go to Wilmington, small, tiny college up in the middle of Ohio, and we'd get these dorm rooms. It was the same at Carlisle, Pennsylvania. These are these small colleges. You'd put us in the dorm rooms. There is no AC in them. They're just brick walls with two little beds. And so the veterans, we knew to buy an air conditioner that we put in the window, and have it. Then we'd black out the window, right? We'd get some kind of, black product or plastic or whatever, and just duct tape it all in there. So we'd come in between practices and take a little nap and have it freezing cold with that air conditioner to survive. But, they just put us in these little old colleges and poor facilities and toughed it out. And when I did that coaching for the Redskins a few years ago, they were in a 5-star hotel, 4-star hotel. I mean, it was really nice for the whole camp, dude.
No cinder block.
It was easy camp. I mean, yeah, they're better than a cinder block room in the middle of nowhere. The cool thing about the Carlisle was it was the home of Jim Thorpe. And that was like my childhood hero, and somebody I wanted to be like. So that was really cool when I got to walk in there and see the home of Jim Thorpe, and think, oh my gosh, I've been thinking about that since my mom told me that story when I was 4 years old. And I'm walking in and driving up the campus and seeing the statue of Jim Thorpe. That was always cool at Carlisle.
So
it was just torture.
When you were in between practices, you would actually sleep, because I couldn't sleep, because then it was just I felt so groggy, going into the afternoon practice. But yeah, did it actually help you go take a nap?
Yeah, I would go. We'd have maybe an hour before we had to go get taped. So you'd go pound your lunch and go in, and I just totally. I have a gift to be able to fall asleep pretty quick and kind of control it, and so I'd be out. Take about a 45-minute hour nap and wake up and go get taped. I felt like it really helped me rejuvenate.
Of going to training camp, what is the value? Is there any value in it other than getting it over? What did you get out of training camp?
Really nothing but injuries.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to think. I'd give anything to practice the way they do now. You remember training camp, man? We'd just grind and beat the living heck out of each other. And we'd go the day before preseason game, we'd have a double day. And the day after the preseason game, we'd have a double day. Full go. And it was like, and the veterans would be talking. It caught up to us, the Redskins, honestly, because Joe Gibbs was a hitter. He wasn't like Walsh. He was a hitter. And, man, believe me, you know how I worship Joe Gibbs. I love him. There's only one criticism I'd give him, is we hit too hard and too much. Because we had all these awesome veterans, and he always loved carrying veterans, because we'd have like 3 or 4 rookies at the most on the team each year, and he'd pick up, veterans, 4 or 5 year veterans around the league that were getting released and bring them on the team, And so we were a very mature team always, but the big greats like Joe Jacoby and the guys were always, man, that last year we got the injury bug so bad, and Pettibone got fired from it, but it was just because we were banging, and everybody was getting out, separated shoulders and injuries, and if they played patty cake like they do now in practice, we all would have lasted an extra 4 or 5 years for sure.
I'm curious to see your take on the Players Union. So the NFLPA, I guess the U.S. Attorney General looking into impropriety with, that there might be a misuse of funds, and that they're doing an investigation. What's your take on the and then of course the recent executive director of the NFL Players Association stepped down. He was sitting on boards. Certainly had a lot of conflict of interest with some of the boards he was on. One of them was actually a group that was looking to purchase minor shares in NFL franchises. I'm just curious what your take is on the Players Association and your experience with it.
Well, yeah, I was player rep at the Bengals and at the Redskins, both. And, remember Gene Upshaw came in to a Redskin meeting, and, the rookies don't know what's going on at all.
Right.
And the back half of the room's full of all the veterans.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, Bostic and Jacoby and everybody, Grimm, he was lucky to get out of that room alive.
And why is that, Jason?
They were yelling at him and calling him out. What's that?
Why is that? Why? Because I've said this on the air.
He folded and took care of himself.
Yeah.
He's making $2 million a year back then. And so it's really a club. What they do is they screw all the old veterans over because you have the big turnover of the young guys. And what I saw is all they do is appease that young, 1 year to 3 year player that votes and votes stupid because they don't see the long run.
Yeah. And
they keep themselves empowered. And they, Upshaw's making a couple million. I don't know what the guy's making now, but it's a little buddy network. All their friends come in there after they leave football, and they have a $250,000 a year easy cush job or more, and travel around and have a little fun and drink. I mean, it's doing a little better. I mean, we got some better things than we had in the 90s, so it's slightly improved for us. But they never bring us up. The baseball union, the basketball union, whenever there's a renegotiated contract, they bring up every single NBA retiree and baseball retiree. In football, they leave Dick Butkus in the 1960s contract. Screw you, Dick Butkus, is what they're doing. 70s, stay with their contract. 80s, stay with their contract. They never better the lives of their veterans, ever. So I'm on my, 80s, 90s contract, right? Early 90s. So it's gotten a little bit better, but it's still a joke. You talk to them about it, and they just kind of blow you off because we have no power. The veterans have no power. So, you run into them, and them and their friends all have nice jobs at the NFLPA, and you just live with what you got.
It's interesting you say this, and I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but my experience was similar. When Gene Upshaw showed up and tried to convince everyone, and everyone was furious about the salary he was making, which in comparison today, he's probably making more money than the highest paid guy on your team. And so you think about today where, I think the NFL quarterback is at $55 million a year. So Gene Upshaw today would be making, $75 million. That's a comparison over the time. And so I was kind of glad you brought it up.
Yeah, Munoz was making arguably the greatest offensive lineman to ever play the game, was making like $700,000 salary.
Yeah.
Boomer wasn't much more than that. He might have been $1 million, or something back then. And Upshaw's $2 million.
Yeah.
And he does really nothing, right? Not very much. He renegotiates a contract once every 9 years or whatever. I mean, just.
Well, and
takes care of himself.
But what I wonder, because there's a lot of, this is kind of in the media today. There's a lot of things going on as far as like the, impropriety. Like this isn't anything like shocking or new to any of us. It's just interesting that it's actually coming to light right now. But what I wonder, because I've always felt, and you've kind of reiterated it to me, careers in the NFL are so short. The people don't really understand the issues. And by the time you understand the issues, your career's over. And when you don't understand the issues, but I wonder with how, you talk about they changed the rules and how the game is played now. So careers are longer, and you have to wonder if maybe that will have an impact on these, the NFL Players Association, because The crazy thing about it is the NFL is the most popular sport in the United States of America. It blows everything out of the water.
Yeah.
And it has the worst management labor relationship of all of the sports. It's not a it's
Yeah.
and you have baseball and you have basketball who are kind of struggling on the field and on the court as far as gaining an audience, growing their sport, and having relevance.
Yeah.
And they have the best, the best player situation around, and it just seems like, and even if as good as the NFL is good, it just seems like it should be better. I'm curious though, do you think that maybe it will change, or could it possibly change with careers being long? Because baseball and basketball, those guys play forever, so they do understand the issues and they understand what they need to protect.
Yeah, the packages are much better now, with severance and retirement than they were for us, obviously. It's really horrible that they just basically abandoned all the players that really built the league. We don't get to share in the upside of IBM with the stock as we build the company. We just build the company and then wave goodbye with, broken shoulders and joints and brains and everything that you had the rest of your life. So, yeah, they really, I think, are very unethical what they've done to us and not bring us along with them. But think of the motivation, Scott. I really think that the NFL owners, they're so smart, and they like this weak NFL pay they have, and so in the contract they give the NFLPA so much money, right, to take care of it. And all these guys in the NFLPA get a fat salary, get taken care of. So they're not very motivated to really, have a big, lengthy, drawn-out, stinky fight.
Right.
So it's almost like they're bought off, and a hybrid of it, if you will.
Feels like it.
They don't have the motivation to really fight for us. They're like, oh, okay, we're going to give us this. And the NFL's like, here it is. And they're like, oh, yeah, make it look like we fought hard for it. Now we'll keep our nice fat salaries and take care of ourselves, and we're all good. So I don't think where the NFL or the baseball, the NBA or National Baseball League, they have great representation, man. And that was the big difference. We never did. We had Gene Upshaw, and they were freaking went out and got some huge, national law firm and stuff like that to represent them, and they set the groundwork, back in the 70s. Where,
This is a drive with. Sorry.
The NFLPA buddy, huh?
I'm sorry. We keep on stepping over.
We have the NFL Buddy Network, the NFLPA Buddy Network. I mean, it was, but not where it should be.
Yeah. This is the drive with Spence Checketts here. I'm Scott Mitchell filling in for Spence. We're talking with former Super Bowl champion Jason Buck, Outland Trophy winning defensive lineman. Of course, he played at Brigham Young University. So Ben Johnson, he's Go Cougs. So he's the Ben Johnson, new coach of the Cincinnati, or not Cincinnati, but the Chicago Bears. Kind of kicked some guys out of practice or out of a drill. Of course, the number one pick, Caleb Williams, the offense wasn't towing the line, and of course he's a new coach. He's trying to set a precedent. How did you feel about coaches maybe trying to do crazy things like that? Kicking guys out of practice, or I don't know if you ever saw this, but a coach cutting a player in a meeting. And I guess the question is how were you motivated by some of these tactics coaches used that seemed a little bit extreme, or did you look at them as a way of manipulating you, and it's like you didn't feel the authenticity of it? Where did you land on kind of how coaches got after players during football practice and kind of this time of year in training camp?
Great question. That is a great question, dude. I'm sure we both experienced something similar on this, having different coaches, because Sam Weiss was a totally different universe than Joe Gibbs, right?
Right.
When Joe Gibbs did something like that, it wasn't for manipulation, right? He didn't play those games. But Sam Weiss played mental, manipulation games all the time. And every player on the team saw through it, and it did nothing but create more disrespect for him, I thought. I mean, you never knew what you were going to get out of Sam Weiss from 1 week to 1 week. He would pull the cutting game. He would pull the insulting game. He literally went alphabetical order on a sheet one week and just, from A to Z through the players and just shredded everybody, right? Just insulting everybody. Ickey Woods got up and said, blank you, Holmes, and walked out of the room. And Weiss just kind of looked at him. And then they get to Munoz, and they say, and Munoz. And everybody in the room just starts laughing their heads off. And Sam kind of turns red. I'm like, dude, he would just do the dumbest stuff. We'd lose in overtime in a heartbreaker, and he'd have us full pads on Monday illegally and tell us to shut up. We're going to do it. And then you got your butts kicked by 40 points because all the DBs were out with prostitutes the night before. And you're like, I shouldn't say all of them, a portion of them. And you're like, you get slaughtered. And then he's like, oh, we need to go in sweats. I mean, you just never knew what you were going to get out of Weiss. Where Gibbs was very consistent. He had his rules. Everybody on the team knew you weren't going to break them. One dude's pager went off in the middle of a meeting when he was talking. He told him to leave the room and report to the Grim Reaper. It's just he was just consistent. And everybody respected him and loved him.
What's a pager,
no games,
Jason?
But he told the row. Huh?
What's a pager?
Right? Remember when they were big? That was a thing for the guys that had their old pagers.
Yeah.
With the incoming call.
No, it's funny because Shula.
Better clarify that with the young generation, right?
Yeah, Shula would, he was hard and he said things that were mean, but you respected him because you knew they came from a place of authenticity. And I think as players, the worst thing that we ever face is a coach that's just plays games and he's he's very inconsistent, and that it's not from a place of being genuine, and authenticity really wins out the day, regardless of maybe how harsh the message is delivered.
Right. You had no inconsistency. So Weiss had his favorites. Half the team really liked him, but I don't know if anybody really had that much respect for him. You couldn't, you're always like, what are you going to do? What's he going to do? And if you're one of his unfavorites, boy, he is going to make your life miserable. Where, Joe Gibbs just did not play that game, man. Like you said, it came from a place of authenticity, and he just told it the way it was. He didn't play favorites. He rewarded just hard work ethic, discipline, character. And you took care of business. He loved you. And, yeah, he would – he didn't ever really shred somebody in front of the team. Not real bad, unless they did something real stupid, like embarrass the team, he'd shred you. And did you guys run the reel? He had a game where he'd run the reel and on the film and stop it and practice it randomly to see and with the laser, see if he could pick out anybody that wasn't hustling. And he would call out guys that get on a random stop that weren't hustling on a play, they're taking plays off. That was pretty funny. Guys get chewed on that one. But never happened to me in my career. That's one of my proudest things, is I've never, ever got no NH on my for no hustle on any of my grade sheets in my entire career or in a practice.
Well, you're a good man, Jason, and really appreciate you coming on today. It was a little bit last-minute notice, but always fun to have a conversation, and we'll chat more down the road. So hope you have a safe drive home and
really
great rest of your day.
Yeah. That was a good one.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks,
Be
Scott.
good, buddy. There you have it,
All
folks.
Right, take care.
Jason Buck. I love Jason. I do. Jason is without guile, just so you know. He's a good human being, good friend, and he went to BYU and I went to Utah, and we actually get along. In fact, I get along with a lot of BYU guys, a lot. Like Mark Wilson's just an awesome guy. There's just a lot of. Now I hate him. Just so you know, I hate the Cougars. I don't want to be a part of them. I want them to lose. I want to beat the socks off of them. And I will just tell you, when Lavelle Edwards was alive, he was not afraid to beat you by 70 points, which he put on Utah in 1989. And guess what? I wasn't offended by it. I didn't think of less of Lavelle. I appreciated the fact that he was wickedly competitive, and it's fine. It's fine. So if the Utes get a chance to put it on the Cougars by 70, I say go for it. And if you're And if you're the Cougars and you want to do the same to the Utes, go for it. And if you don't like it, then change it if you're on the losing end of it. All right, we're going to change right now. We're going to go and take a break. When we come back, we got our folks from Pick Six. You don't want to miss this. So a lot of great information. Football is starting. It's starting. We're here. It's The Drive with Spence Checketts here on ESPN 792.1 FM. Oh, yeah. Welcome back, sports fans. This is The Drive with Spence Checketts here on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. I'm Scott Mitchell, filling in for Spence today, tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'll be here all week. So can't wait. Can't wait to be here. Always fun to talk about sports. So much going on in the sports world, as there always is. And it's been a fun show so far, and it's even going to get a lot funner, by the way. Funner? Is funner a word, or is it more fun?
More fun.
More fun. I like funner.
But go with it.
I think funner is funner, right?
I agree.
Yeah, it could be the funniest if you took it too far. Anyways, welcome on into the program. And by the way, if you miss any of it, just go to ESPN700sports.com or the ESPN 700 app, and you can get any part of the show that you missed, because you really want to be able to listen to all of it. So don't fret if you're in your car and you only get to listen to a bit of it. We're saving it for you. We're going to preserve it for you so you can check it out. But right now, joining the I'm so excited about this. Joining the program right now is Brett Ciancia from Pick Six Previews. Of course, this is an exciting time of the year for Brett and for all of us, because college football is at our doorstep. Brett, welcome to the program, and how are you doing today?
Hey, thanks for having me on. And you're right, it's that time of year. It's late July. That means it's preview magazine season, and excited to launch our 14th annual. The magazines are going out. The digital versions are going out. It's a wide open season, so I can't wait to break it down with you guys. Yeah, this is going to be fun. You also have a Pick Six Plus. I was looking on your web, and so that's like a preview of upcoming games. It's kind of an analysis, a review of the previous game. It kind of gets in detail of all the conferences, and kind of that's kind of something special. I'm not trying to pub your site, but I am, because I think it's awesome what you're doing. Yeah, thank you. Well, we're known for the Preview Magazine, and like I said, 14th annual, and over the last 10 years and last 5 years, it's been number one in prediction accuracy. So people like the Preview Magazine, but once the season kicks off, they reach out asking for game projections and advanced stats. And so basically, Pick Six Plus is all the things you like from the magazine, but now every week during the fall. It hits your inbox every Tuesday via email. It's all the advanced stats. All 68 Power 4 teams, their next opponent, how they match up positionally, everything from talent rankings, 5 stars, 4 stars, mock NFL draft picks, that kind of thing, and even the against the spread stuff if you're into that. So really everything you could ask for statistically and information-wise every Tuesday morning. It's Pick Six Plus.
So have you ever had a moment, what is the moment, I guess, where you got it right and everyone else got it wrong? Do you have a moment, a team or play, something where you were like, everyone was way off and you just nailed it?
Yeah, well, it's almost the perfect setup, because I'm here on Utah radio, and I think anyone familiar that's listening that has followed Pick Six Previews, they'll know how high I've been on Utah over the last handful of years, really starting in 2018, 2019, where if you go back in time to then, it was the Pac-12, it was the Pac-12 North and South. And back then, the other services were very focused on USC and UCLA. They liked their gaudy recruiting stats and their blue chippers on paper. But I like the physicality and the culture and the player development, all those buzzwords that Utah had. And year in and year out, they continued to prove me right. I had them winning the conference a couple times there. They were actually one of my playoff picks, and they got really close, went up against Oregon in the Pac-12 title game and came up short. But on the final day, that roulette chip almost hit. So, listeners that are familiar, they know I'm high on Utah, and Utah has made Pick Six Previews look pretty smart over the years.
Yeah, so I'm the color analyst for Utah football, and that Oregon game, I was like, Oregon doesn't understand who they have in Justin Herbert. Like, they don't know how good he is. Like, he's an amazing talent. And if they ever figure this out, like, everyone's in trouble. And it seemed like that game, the championship game, they kind of figured it out, or Justin Herbert certainly did. And then he went on into the Rose Bowl. I was always really, really high on Justin. So, yeah, I feel the pain. So there's a couple of questions I want to ask you about kind of predictions, because Coach Whittingham has talked about how college football's changed. And he goes, because one of the strengths, almost the superpower Utah had, was identifying a player that fit their program. And he goes, it's like, we don't fit to you, you fit to us. And we have a system, we have a way, we develop players, and we get those 3-star guys, and we'll turn a decent number of them into NFL talents. And now he goes, it's different. He goes, I can't keep those players. I can't keep the depth that I've had. I can't develop players. I now have to go into the portal. I think he said 57 new players on the roster this year. How does that impact you and you predicting and giving a fairly accurate analysis of teams with the transfer portal and how quickly these rosters and every year just kind of change over?
Oh, well, yeah, it's complicated the preview book process tenfold. I mean, it's so much harder now, so much more information now. I mean, think back to when I launched in 2012. Back then you had the BCS. It was real simple. You had a Big East conference. You had the Pac-12. The regionality of the sport still existed. And back then it was very much a formula. It was you look at returning starters, you look at their past performance, and then who opted out of the pro NFL draft. And that was pretty much it. Yeah. Throw in the latest recruiting ranking, and that was it. Now, I mean, it's so much more in depth. I go position by position, look at who's leaving, why are they leaving, who's coming in, why are they coming in, how they do at their previous school. Were they blue chippers in high school? Were they, JUCO guys? It's just so much more. And I think that is an advantage of my book. Now, the preview book does come out a little later than others. You'll see some go on newsstands in April and May and June. Mine comes out mid-July. It is a little later, but I think it's more up to date than the others. Just the sheer amount of information you got to pack in there with transfers. It takes up a ton of time. But, yeah, I think that's it's an important part of the process now. And then specifically to Utah, you're right about that. They were some of the top player developers in my formula for several years. You're talking about 2-star guys, 3-star guys that, 4 or 5 years later within this program, they're all conference and they're NFL draft picks. So no one has done better job than that than Kyle Whittingham and, of course, Morgan Scalley on defense. So, yeah, it changes the math a little bit for them as a program. I think they'll adapt and be fine, but it definitely changes things.
So specifically, since this is kind of a new deal, the Big 12 Conference has named the newcomer of the year, Devin Dampier, quarterback who transferred to Utah from New Mexico. What's your take on the kind of impact he'll have with Utah this year?
Yeah, well, I agree with the selection there. I have an All-American team, an All-Big 12 team, but nowadays I have to have an all-transfer team. Sounds silly, but wow. On my all-transfer team, he is the number one quarterback there in the Big 12. So he earns that praise. You could argue some Texas Tech defensive linemen for overall, but yeah, offensively, definitely he's your pick. He adds, obviously, the dual threat ability. I mean, he's really fast as a runner, really elusive in the pocket. A stat in there is that he was pressured 100 times this past season, 100 times, only sacked 4 times. And that's the highest sack evasion rate you can find. So he's elusive. Now, it is a step up in competition, moving from the Mountain West up to the Pac-12. But with that, he gets a better offensive line in front of him. His offensive line here at Utah is rated number 1 in the conference for me, best line in the Big 12. So, yeah, you're getting an instant change to the offense, scheme-wise, quarterback-wise. And I think it's going to look a lot different this year. A great rushing attack.
Defensively, Utah is always good. They've just proven year in and year out they're consistent. What's been your analysis of the defense this year, and really where is Utah in the conference? And I might as well ask that question while we have you, because I'm sure people want to know.
Yeah. Well, the Big 12 is such a wide open race this year. I got to talk to a bunch of head coaches and coordinators, and it's kind of a consensus answer. You ask them who are the top contenders, they give you 9 names. Almost half the conference can contend here. Case in point, at the Big 12 Media Days, the coaches did a poll, and they picked the 2 winners. They said it would be Kansas State versus Iowa State. And for me, I don't have either of those 2 in my top 5. Got them 6th and 7th in the league. So shows you how wide open it is. I have Utah in the upper pack. I have them 4th right now in the Big 12, but still good for 20th nationally. And what I like about them is the transition on offense that we just spoke about. And I do love Morgan Scalley's track record on defense. You asked about the defense. It's a little bit newer than usual. Usually you have 6, 7, 8 returning starters. It's a lot of new faces this year, especially in the defensive front 7. It's a good thing you get Lander Barton back. He's an all-conference linebacker. And I like the 2 guys in the secondary, Johnson and Snowden. So a couple stars to build around. And this is a team where I almost don't even care who's returning, because I know what I'm going to get out of a Scalley defense. It's going to be physical. They're going to fly to the ball. They don't miss tackles. They're ball hawks. And I call them Pick 6 U because they've executed a Pick 6 the last 26 years or something. It's a NCAA record, and it's still rolling. So, I trust what Utah has on defense just off coaching and player development alone. and a couple stars to build around.
What don't you like about Utah?
Well, what I don't like about Utah right now is the receiver room. It's they lost a lot of guys from last year. In fact, almost everybody that had a catch last year is gone. And then in spring ball, you had a guy emerging as your number one receiver. I think even Coach Whittingham announced that publicly, that you had a new number one. He transfers out to USC. That's not good news there. Late in April and early in May. So I think the receiver room has a lot of question marks, or at least some new faces. And then, of course, you lose some program stars. You lose Brant Kuithe, you lose Mekhi Bernard. These are multi-year stars of the program. So it almost seems like an era is closing, but there's plenty of talent to fill those gaps. So those are the questions, is at the skill positions, running back and receiver.
How big of an impact, like when you're rating a team? So, I would have said BYU was probably one of those schools that was up there to contend for a championship. A lot of it, because the programs are similarly built. There's a lot of coaching crossover. Kalani was with Kyle for years. Jay Hill, same thing. A lot of these guys, Aaron Roderick was, they were all Kyle guys at one point. But they lose the quarterback late. So how do you evaluate that? Like, how do you make a prediction about a team that loses an impactful player so close to the season?
Yeah, but you're right. That was one of the last edits in the book. That was like 2 days before I published it, and had to scrap that paragraph and put a new one in. And looks like you have a three-way battle there. Transfers in from Utah State and Western Michigan from the lower tier. But then Bear Bachmeier coming in, a true freshman 4-star. Looks like he might even win the job as a true freshman. He was getting first-team reps over at Stanford during spring ball. So, but yeah, the loss of a starting quarterback like that definitely changes the outlook. There were question marks on defense too, and they had some star players on offense that left too. Keelan Marion was going to be projected as a starter for me. Obviously, he's one of the best receivers in the league. He even was an all Big 12 returner, kick returner. You lose him to Miami after spring ball. So just the forecast shifted a little bit after spring for BYU, losing the quarterback, losing your top receiver, second receiver. So yeah, a lot of question marks here. I have them 8th in the Big 12, really in the middle of the pack.
I'm curious about the conference in general, because you talk about, so many teams could win it. And you hear it in the conference, they go, look, that's what's great about our conference, is that from top to bottom, we are, we're a strong conference. And you're going to get competitive games, pretty much every week you tune in. And yet it's almost like the cannibalism where the teams are going to, get, your champion might have 3 losses, maybe 4. And so is the conference kind of a victim of its broad, success, or its lack of a superstar? Where is the conference in general as far as its health and its viability with the other conferences in the country?
Yeah, well, I think what's happened the last couple of years and maybe the last decade, you've seen the Big Ten and the SEC really emerge as the power leagues. It didn't help that the Big Ten stole 4 really strong programs from the Pac-12 with Oregon and Washington and USC, UCLA. That's some serious firepower to add on. So those 2 have emerged as the top 2. They have the money. They have the TV deals, unfortunately. So it's really a Big 12 versus ACC debate for me. I go Big 12, and not just because I'm here on Utah radio, but I don't think the fact that they have Clemson or Miami just having like a title contender, I don't think that means that the entire conference is stronger. It really drops off after a handful of teams in the ACC. You see that on the recruiting trail. You see empty stadiums. You don't see that in the Big 12. Say what you will with TV numbers. I don't care about TV numbers. I want to see packed environments, packed stadiums, and fan bases that care. You watch a Utah or BYU game on TV, the camera literally shakes on big plays. I love it. So I love the Big 12. Yeah, it's really competitive here. You might not have a top 10 team nationally, but you got a whole lot of top 40 teams. And, I think for them to really help their image, you want to go win these non-conference games in September. Big opportunities. You got Baylor versus Auburn, an SEC contender there. That's huge. Iowa State every year helps. Utah, UCLA. You got chances here. You want to win them. And position yourself well for the postseason. So I love the conference, and it's going to be, must-watch TV every week with these matchups.
So who do you have Utah for? Who do you have as the top team in the conference this year?
Yeah, I went with Arizona State versus Texas Tech to meet in Dallas. And I'll give the elevator pitch for a couple teams real quick here. There's so many contenders.
Yeah.
Arizona State, they're your defending champs. They bring back 20 starters. It's basically the same team from last year that won it, minus Cam Scatterbo. But I like how veteran they are, and they already did it last year. Texas Tech, they had the number one transfer class in America. They went out, they got 12 blue chippers. That's more than the rest of the conference combined. I like that firepower to get them to Dallas. And then you got Baylor, another veteran team off 9-win season. Utah, I think they're going to bounce back big time from last year's record. Look more like they have the years prior. TCU, a team under the radar, no one's talking about. I've got them in my top 25. Great quarterback, great receivers, and a veteran defense. I think they could sneak up on you. And then Kansas State, I'll consider them a contender. And what you get with them is physicality. You know you're gonna be grinding out a 60-minute game against them. A great dual threat quarterback, Avery Johnson, but just a physical team. So those are the top 6.
I think it's hard. I like your elevator pitch. I don't think it's hard to argue. What I'm curious, so Texas Tech is Utah's conference opening opponent. It's here in Salt Lake, and I'm fascinated to see what the impact, because they went all in. I mean, they've got some deep pockets there, and that are not only trying to play with the system now, and say, hey, we're going to buy championships, but also trying to reform it in a big way. So I'm fascinated to see how quickly you get all these blue chip players. It looks really good on paper, but how quickly can they mesh? How much time does it take for a team like that to really hit on all cylinders? And is it good for Utah to maybe get them early on in the season before they may have a chance to really get it going?
Yeah, that's a good angle. And I think teams like that, the big transition seasons, they're going to look a lot different September compared to November. So that's a good point. Catch them early. And that was kind of the consensus when I talked to head coaches and coordinators within the conference. They were all amazed by the talent that they were able to stockpile, but they all had that little what if at the end about how quickly can that gel? How can you coach that together? A lot of new personalities in the room, a lot of future NFL picks. How does it gel? So, yeah, catch them early. That's probably your best bet.
Heisman Trophy. That you have something to say about that, right? Who are your early picks to be the Heisman Trophy winner?
Yeah, well, it's always a crapshoot in August. Remember last year, Carson Beck was the favorite, and he really struggled last year. So, with that in mind, with that caveat, I think you look at Cade Klubnik, the quarterback from Clemson. They're pretty much a surefire playoff team, and he's got the name recognition. He's going to have the stats to back it up. Jeremiah Smith, arguably the best player in the country, the receiver from Ohio State, had a breakout freshman year last year.
Good player.
If you like a running back pick, I like Jeremiah Love from Notre Dame, and he was a rare breed where he had over 1,000 yards, but not many carries. So really high per carry average. If he gets more of a workload, he could go for 1,500 or 2,000 yards. And then a really roulette chip. Big odds here. I'd go John Mateer if you're looking for a really high odds pick. I think he's like 30 or 40 to 1. But the quarterback at Oklahoma now, following his coordinator, great new scheme and a lot of talent around him. So that's some picks there. It's wide open. And as a voter, I try not to pick early in the season. I really let the players determine it and then really hone in on it later in November. So it's a wide open field as always.
In all your analysis this year, what is a prediction that you kind of went out on a limb? You felt like this is pretty bold. I like to call them bold and stupid picks, but what was probably one of those bold picks that probably went against maybe the grain that most people would think?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'll tell you, I'm not making many friends in Champaign, Illinois this year, and that's a trendy pick. A lot of people have them as a dark horse playoff pick. They're coming off a 10-win season, a lot of starters back, but I just don't buy it. And, part of my analysis, it's a mix of looking at the player personnel, talking to coaches, but a lot of it is numbers too. And if you look at Illinois' stat profile last year, they did not look like a 10-win team at all, especially when you adjust for the opponent's strength. I mean, they beat Purdue by 1 point. It's the worst team in the country. A lot of close wins. I think that 10 wins is a little bit of a fake resume. So I know they bring a lot of talent back, but I just don't see it. I see them more as like a top 40 team, nowhere near the top 25, nowhere near the playoff. So I'm selling Illinois big time.
All right, last question before I let you go. You have you just have your nose in this stuff. It's fascinating. You do just a tremendous job. Very, very commendable in what happens. But, college football is a big part of your life, and you see it. What do you think needs to change, improve? A lot of people feel like college football is broken. I don't know if it's broken or not, but it's certainly in a lot of influx, and there's a lot of unsure areas. But what do you think it would take for college football to maybe move forward in a positive way, in a productive way, and I don't want to say preserve it, but just have it go in a way that would be really healthy for college football?
Yeah. On a really high level, I think the player movement might actually be a negative. I know that we want players to be able to move around a bit and find their path, but almost to a fault. I wonder, what's the college experience like for a guy that's transferring 3 or 4 times? You're not really building lasting friendships and connections, and I don't even know how the education works that way when you're going 4 different schools in 4 years. So is that actually valuable? Maybe a 2-year contract type thing where you can really hunker down and try and stay at a school for 2 years, more than one season, something like that. Because also, the fans of college sports teams, it's really hard to get to know the players anymore when they're cycling in every 3 months, and I think that might damage some of the relations with the team. If you're talking fans and boosters and alumni, if you don't even know who's suiting up anymore, that might be tough. So maybe something like that to structure that. Also, the calendar to kind of play off of that. I think the transfer portal windows are crazy. Having it before the bowls is ridiculous, and then having one right after April too. So they got to figure that out. Just have one window and make it where it makes sense. So that's what I would go with. And not to open up a whole new debate, but I think playoff structure. I think we got to calm down with the expansion. Just let it breathe a little bit. I would have liked to keep it at 4 or 6 or 8, but we're already at 12. Let's keep it there for a while and see how it plays out. 16 and 20s is getting crazy. So I know that's unpopular, but I'm more of a small playoff guy. But that's what I would change or try and maintain for the sport.
Love it. Really appreciate your time. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and we will all be dialed in all year long. So thanks a lot, Brett.
Oh, thanks for having me. Anytime.
All right, there you have it, folks. Brett Cianica of Pick Six Previews does a great job. Great interview. A lot of fun. When we come back, I got so much more to talk about. What I hate about camp. We got Bill Riley around the corner and some old guy named Tony Mandrich, who was this is a great interview. Tony was long time. They thought he was kind of the transformational player in all of football. He's just this workout phenom. Great interview with him coming up as well. All right, this is the Drive with Spence Checketts here on ESPN 792.1 FM. Hello, sports fans. Welcome back. It's The Drive with Spence Checketts here on ESPN 792.1 FM. I'm Scott Mitchell filling in for Spence all week. And I'll be here twice on Saturday. Bill's nice. Tip your waiter, please. So excited to be here. So excited to be a part of the show. I'll tell you what else is exciting. Advanced Windows. They are exciting. You can get $2,500 off when you buy 10 windows or more. Local Salt Lake company operated by Nate Orchard, the mayor of Salt Lake City, an NFL football player, and also newest inductee into the Utah Crimson Club Hall of Fame. Yep, that's him. He's using his skills to help Utah homeowners save on energy bills with the most energy-efficient windows around. I'm sold. He put them in my house. But how do you get good deals on this? Just call them. Advanced Window Products at 801-850-9100 or visit advancedwindows.com. Don't miss out on $2,500 off when you buy 10 windows or more. Give the mayor a call today, 801-850-9100. Advanced Window Products, building, installing, guaranteeing the best windows in Utah. Hey, I love when football season starts. I love this time of year. There's so much excitement, anxiety, nervousness, dread. You just name it. You run through a gamut of emotion as a player. You just do. And most of it's exciting. And a lot of it, and we were talking to Jason Buck earlier, and I wanted to get Jason's take on this because, and I really appreciate it. This was not planned or anything, but he did. He said exactly how I feel about this. What's the most exciting thing about training camp? Getting it over with. It really is. It's like, how do you get through this? Because it is boring. The season is so exciting. It's so fun to go out every Sunday and to go play games and to be there in the excitement of the crowd and everything that's happening. It's amazing. And football camp is not. Like, football camp will make you not want to play football. Just so you know, it really will. It'll be just like, this isn't really that fun when I got to go through this every year. And none of it ever makes any sense. It never does. I would go to camp, and every coach has this whole thing about they want to see where you are. They want to test your conditioning. They want to do an evaluation of where your strength is and how you compare to where you were from the year before. And all you got to do is just look at guys. Like when you show up to camp, like, you can tell very quickly. You go, that guy's worked hard. That guy's worked hard. That guy has not worked hard. That guy hasn't worked out at all. And what happens is, what they do is they just run you through all these tests. And before you ever get onto the field, you have run all these, your legs are dead. And you've worked out. You're ready to go. And you just kind of burn yourself out before the first day. I remember, it was always fascinating. The first 4 years of my career with the Miami Dolphins, my legs were just mush. They were mush for the first 2 weeks of training camp. And it's just like, why? This is not good. And it almost felt like you get in bad habits because you were tired and fatigued. And it never made any sense because you'd run this big, long test. You do all these, all of the combine drills. And then you go to your first practice, all in the first day. Like, you're there 6 o'clock in the morning running for 12 minutes around a football field. And you have all this anxiety and all this energy build up, and you're out there running. So you're trying hard. You want to pass the test, because you've worked hard because you don't want to not be in good condition. I mean, I would be on vacation at the beach, running on the beach, or I would be I'd like to go fishing, and I'd be up in northern Canada running along in through the Canadian woods just to make sure I was ready for my conditioning test. And so then you go to practice. It's a long growing practice. And then after practice, you would run conditioning after practice. And you'd run gassers, which are, you run across the field. So you run 4 times. So across and back. And that was one gasser. And you had to make it by a certain time, or you had to run an extra one. So and your legs were just done. You were just done for 2 weeks, which it made no sense. And that's what I hated. So it's funny when you go back, or when you think about the beginning of training camp, you're really excited to start the season, but you really dread. Like, no one likes training camp. Nobody. I think right now in the NFL, and I'll tell you what's worse is college. Like I don't know how I survived going to fall camp in college. I must have just. I guess you're just really young and you're just stupid and you don't know any better. But to go practice for a month and you don't have any games. You don't have any. You don't have. Maybe you have a little scrimmage here and there, but you're practicing against your own guys. It's kind of okay, but it's not like a game. And you have no idea how good your team is. You have no idea where you are. The only way that you really make improvement from week to week, even in the preseason, is having games. I think practicing forever actually produces diminishing returns. You just do it too much without a break, and then it's overload, and I don't think you get as much benefit where you can work on things. Then you go out and you try them in a game, and you say that worked well, that didn't work well, and then you come back and you find the things you need to improve on, and you improve on those. And you go out and test yourself again, because the only way you know anything is to get in a game. And it's beyond me why the NFL, at least after a couple of weeks, you start having games. And guys come to training camp like they're ready to play when they come, it's not like the old days where they came to camp to get into shape. All you got to do is just look, just go through an eyeball, like do a military inspection. Everyone stand at attention. The head coach walks along and he says, "Yeah, you look good. You look good." And if your body looks good, you're good. Like we talked about Luka Doncic at the beginning of the show. Yeah, Luka looks different than he did last year. It's obvious. What do we need to do any tests for? It makes no sense. So I used to dread that. I used to dread when the coach would have these tests. I just hate it. And I know they were trying to we got to make sure that you work hard, which I did, and it worked. But you don't need to test. Just look at people. Come on, we're educated. We can tell who's a doughboy and who is in shape. Just look at him. Fine, it's profiling. I don't care. Maybe it's prejudice. I don't care. But you can tell. Not hard. I'd rather do that. Yeah, just look at me than to actually run a test. Now, the other thing I dreaded, and this was all, speaking of tests, okay, this was all in the very first day. You had a drug test. You had your physical test. You had practice. And then you would practice again. And then you would have the worst experience of your entire life was that first meeting of training camp. So you've been going all day long. You've been mentally exhausted, physically exhausted in meetings, and you go from 0 to 100. I was a high school football coach, and of course you worked out. You thought you just weren't ready for it. I think an acclimation process. I know it's all easy now. I don't even know why I'm complaining about this, but I'll just tell you the worst part of training camp was that first meeting that night on the first day, and they went over all the rules, and they literally read every single rule there was. Now you've been playing 8-9 years, you know all the rules. You could stand up in the room and you could recite all the rules, and you had to sit there and you had to sit through that after that entire day. And so that's why guys hate training camp, because you do all these things that are, I guess they're necessary, but they're just a waste of time. And it's really, and they're a waste of time because no one's listening. Like no one cares. Like you could tell them the rules, 10 times. And the guys who aren't going to break the rules are never going to break the rules. And the guys that are going to break the rules are always going to break the rules, whether you have that meeting or not. Maybe they have to by law. I don't know. Read it's a CYA thing. I have no idea. I absolutely hated those moments. And here's the other moment I hated. By the way, if I had the opportunity to go back and do it all over again, knowing all the physical ramifications, the mental ramifications, the just annoying part and there were things about it that were annoying. I'd do it all in a heartbeat. I wouldn't think twice about it. I would sign me up for the most miserable day of my life, the beginning of training camp, and I'm there. I would totally do it. I would love to do that. But here's the part that would drive me nuts, and this wasn't necessarily just a training camp thing. This was like a coach, again, trying to ensure that you are going to be ready to play. And I get it because I coached, but I also get it from the player's perspective. It's like, don't try to manipulate us. Don't try to do your Jedi mind tricks. Don't try to tease us, and we don't like that. We like you being authentic. If you're going to be tough on us, be tough on us all the time. We can deal with it. If you're going to be soft on us all the time, be soft on us all the time. But don't flip-flop. Don't wishy-wash. Don't try something someday, something else another day, because what it makes you feel like is you don't know what you're doing. Like you don't have a plan, and you're just throwing all this stuff at the wall and see if anything sticks. So it's fascinating to Ben Johnson. He's the new coach of the Chicago Bears. And this is what they had to say about Ben Johnson and kind of his first couple of days with the Chicago Bears. It says, as promised by Coach Ben Johnson, not even the smallest of details would be left by the wayside, even on the first day of training camp. After Chicago's first-team offense struggled to get lined up properly during an 11-on-11 period, Johnson blew the drill dead and sent quarterback Caleb Williams and the starters to the sidelines while the backups took over. First day of camp. And he's saying, now everyone took this as, oh, Caleb Williams is not going to be able to play, and they made it all about Caleb Williams, right? And so people are exaggerating, over-exaggerating, freaking out. Caleb Williams, this and that and whatever. It's the first day of training camp. This is a coach who just merely is setting expectations. This is how you're going to practice. This is how you're going to prepare. This is how these things matter, and they matter to me. And I'm not for a single second am I going to sit here and go, yeah, that's okay. I'm okay with you, just slacking off and just being okay. And it's not. And I love this. I absolutely love it. I'm not freaked out about Caleb Williams. Ben Johnson's not a dummy. Okay. Ben Johnson could have gone anywhere in the NFL. He was the number one pick of new coaches. And he did his research, and he looked at his players, and he said, where is there a quarterback that I can really turn into something? And a lot of people said there's no, Jared Goff was a throwaway player. Matthew Stafford, the Rams got the deal on that one. And Ben Johnson says, no. Jared Goff is the deal. Jared Goff is a player that can get a team to a Super Bowl, and I can get it out of Jared Goff, and he did. I guarantee you he's looking at this Chicago situation, and he goes, I can get it out of him, and this is how I'm going to do it. You're not gonna get away with anything. You're gonna practice the right way every single day. I had coaches I coached Shula, and he was in your business all the time. You knew from day one exactly what the expectation was. And I hated a lot of things Coach Shula said to me. And he said them very vocally where a lot of people could hear. But they were things that I needed to hear and I had to hear. Wasn't what I wanted to hear. And then I had another coach. Wayne Fonts was my coach once. And Wayne Fonts sat in a golf cart, smoked a cigar at the end of the practice field, never, ever once commented about how we were doing in practice. He never said a word to the team after practice. He never said anything, ever, at any moment to us. Like, you had no idea. I could not tell you to this day what his expectation was. And it was, well, you're a player. You gotta get yourself right. Now, if you weren't getting it right, he'd bench you or cut you or he'd fire a coach. But he never ever said, and it was hard because I didn't know what the expectation was. And you personally you drive you push yourself or whatever, but it was talk about a coach not doing anything. It was like that was a tough one to be a part of, a very tough one to be a part of. Half our team meetings the night before a game we got canceled. We didn't know if we were gonna have a team meeting or not. And he would show up into meetings and he'd say, "Is Barry here?" Meaning Barry Sanders. And of course Barry was there, because Barry wasn't ever going to be late to a meeting. And he says, "All right, Barry's here. We can start the meeting." Basically making the assumption that the best player, the only player he had, was Barry Sanders. And people would joke about it, because it's kind of funny. And I think there's a part of him who said it to be funny, but I don't think he really realized the impact it had on the other players on the team, because it's like, oh, so we got Barry Sanders. What about the rest of us? And it's like we're all just a bunch of chopped liver, and that's kind of how you felt you were viewed, and I think that's how he viewed everyone else. I don't think he, and so having a coach kind of set expectations is one of those things that you appreciate. And I love that Ben Johnson, on the first day of training camp, instead of running a 12-minute run, he just benches the whole first team offense. Says, "Sit down, let the rookies take care of this." All right, well, we're gonna have the rookies take care of this. We're gonna take a break. When we come back in a minute, I'm gonna talk to you about because players are already getting injured. How the heck do you deal with injuries when you're on a team? Because they always seem to rear their ugly head. You're listening to The Drive on ESPN 700 921 FM. All righty, sports fans, welcome back. It is The Drive with Spence Checketts here on ESPN 70921 FM. Scott Mitchell here, filling in for Spence all week long. Fun show today, still going strong. I'll tell you who's going strong is Scotty Scheffler's caddy. So Scheffler, of course, I think he's going to win over $14 million this year, minus the FedEx, whatever that ends up, if he, wins. And his caddy actually is earning more money than about 6 former major champion winners this year. So, in fact, probably after whatever next tournament, he'll surpass Adam Scott in his earnings, assuming, of course, that the caddy gets 10% of whatever the player wins. So that's a typical thing. So it's good to be Scotty Scheffler, and it's good to be his caddy. You see a lot of these players in the NFL that are getting injured, some guys for the season. It's tough to see, especially when they're just in practice, not really a lot going on. And it's a challenging part of the whole deal. But, it's kind of one of those things, like, how do you deal with injuries as a player? And so much of, you have to learn how to practice with each other. And there's just some guys that just want to be these, I don't know, weekend warriors. They just want to go off on everything, and they just have a chip on their shoulder, and they have no respect for anyone else. And they go at a tempo that is just, it's not conducive to winning. And, a lot of times as a player, when you see your teammates go down, you're okay, and you understand that injuries are part of the game. But you never are happy with when something stupid happens, when it just shouldn't happen, and so you just don't like those injuries. But a lot of times, injuries are actually those opportunities where someone has a chance to shine. I know I can speak for myself when I got a chance to play because of an injury. And so for me, it was exciting. It wasn't a bad thing at all. And so injuries a lot of times are an opportunity for people to come in. I mean, Lou Gehrig actually had his incredible streak of games played because someone had a headache and couldn't play. So injuries aren't necessarily the worst thing in the world. And a lot of times it gives someone a chance because remember, everyone who's there and playing, they're all pretty good. And just not a lot of guys get the chances like other people. I mean, baseball's a tough one. So I'm not always a proponent of, this is the end of the world when injuries happen. Now, sometimes it's that way, and you can certainly get kind of overzealous with the injury bug, but sometimes it's a good thing. Well, this show is a good thing, and we're having a lot of fun with it. We're going to take another break, but when we come back, none other than the voice of the Utes, Bill Riley, joins us. Oh, boy, we are going to talk about the Utes and the fact that they start camp, I believe, tomorrow. So that'll be a lot of fun to chat with my partner in crime and my good friend and the voice of the Utes, Bill Riley. When the Spence Eccles, when the drive with Spence Checketts, I'm now getting caught up in all the Utah people. When the drive with Spence Checketts returns here on ESPN 792 FM. Hello, sports fans. Welcome back. It is The Drive with Spence Checketts here on ESPN 792.1 FM. Proud to be a part of Utah's ESPN radio network. I'm Scott Mitchell filling in for Spence today and the rest of this week, which I'm always happy to do. So a lot of fun, always fun to talk about sports. And sports is it's getting into full swing. The sports we know, the sports we love, the sports we get excited about. Of course, we're excited about all of them, but it's really exciting to talk about sports. You know, how would it be to be like Bryce Harper, and you're such a big name, I guess, and you have an audience with the commissioner, and apparently Bryce Harper cussed out Rob Manfred in a meeting, I guess over player relationships. What I don't understand with all of it, and I guess it's just business, right? Because sports is just a business, or professional sport is clearly a business, and it's one of those businesses where you go, well, what's in it for me, and how do I get the most out of this, right? And you look at all these different leagues, and we had a bit of a conversation with Jason Buck earlier, with talking about the NFLPA and the issues there, and how baseball and basketball were much better. But you really wonder if they really are better, because in baseball, you win a championship, you buy it. And people don't like that at the end of the day. They didn't like it in basketball either. And they tried to change their CBA to give other teams a chance. So now you have the Indiana Pacers and you have the Oklahoma City Thunder in the championship, which I think people get nervous about, but not those people in Indiana or Oklahoma. They're excited, right? So I just think it's fascinating that these leagues all have such different views on their player management relationship. And it just seems like everyone should sit down and go, okay, this has been proven to be the very best way for all of us to win. And let's have an agreement that works there, where it's not so one-sided for one or the other, where the leagues as a whole can actually function and succeed. Joining us on the program right now is none other than the voice of the Utes, the director of broadcasting at the University of Utah, my good friend, Mr. Bill Riley. Bill, how you doing?
33 days, Scott. 33 days to the Rose Bowl.
I know. It's just, man, it's just so hard. It's like it seems so far away, and then it just.
Math, I think your math is 32 days.
Of course, it's 32. Yes.
Math.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I had this conversation earlier. It's like, man, how we get through the dog days of training camp? My mind is blown with how these college players do it, because I would get so bored of practicing for an entire month without playing a game. And I did it in college, and I don't remember how I actually got through it, but I feel so sorry for these guys that have to go through this year in and year out.
Yeah, are you talking about the college guys?
Yeah, the college. No, the college. The pros is different. All you got to do is get through the first 2 weeks.
It's so much Scott, they don't even do 2-a-days anymore.
Oh.
You used to do like 3-a-days. They don't even put, they only have limited, padded practices and things. Now, if you're talking about just wanting to get to games, I understand that part of it. But these guys are in shape year round. They come in ready to go. And it's not like when you played, man. It's, again, not that I could do it, but it's a different time today than what you used to go through. And certainly what Kyle Whittingham went through as a player, too.
Well, I would imagine that it helps players, I guess. Kind of get away from injuries, and there's a part of physicalness you need to go through, at least to get your body conditioned to it. And I know it changed, and it's a good thing. I thought it was way too much when we play. I thought it was actually unhealthy, quite frankly. So I am glad that they have changed it. But yes, it's a long freaking time to go without actually playing a game. So what is it?
Think about it. You think about it too. I mean, if you're a really good college program, and you're playing what could amount to be almost an NFL schedule. I mean, you're playing 14, 15, 16 games, perhaps. Yeah. Not quite there, but pretty darn close to it. So you're right. You have to be. It's that fine line, right? We talk about all the time. You have to be physical because that's the sport.
Right.
You can't not hit and do those things. but you have to walk that fine line of not doing too much of it because you've got to save these guys' bodies. And there's no going out and sign. Well, maybe we'll get to that someday. But you can't go out on the waiver wire or make a trade or anything if a player goes down. So the players you have are the players you have. So you've got to protect that. And I think Kyle Whittingham, and just talking to him, they've adjusted their camp, their fall camp to kind of an NFL pro model, the way the NFL guys do it, because the NFL guys don't do 2-a-days anymore either. So I think you're seeing not just Kyle Whittingham, but coaches all over the country. The days of going out in the desert, or whatever, the Junction Boys, where Bear Bryant would take them out into the West Texas heat and do 3-a-days and nearly kill people and give them salt tablets. Those days are gone now.
But those were the good old days. They really were. So when you kind of get to this point, and you've been doing this a long time, what excites you most about kind of this time? What about going into fall camp and just this and just getting towards the start of the season? What excites you the most about all of that?
Well, the 33 days till you and I and Sly and Alonzo and Dave and Matt and our crew can do a game. That excites me because you and I talk about it all. There's nothing like game day.
Yeah.
There's just not. I mean, and we're not playing the game, but we get to play a fun role on game day. So that excites me. But as far as camp goes, I guess it's just figuring out some of the unknown. Spring ball gives you a little glimpse, but now it kind of becomes real. The clock's not ticking in spring ball. You can if you want to get some things done, but the clock's not ticking. The clock's ticking now. Beginning Wednesday afternoon, the clock is ticking. And any questions you have, you've got to try and start getting some answers to those questions. So, for Utah, for me, it's like, I think they've got some pass catchers, Scott, but I'm not quite sure who the top 6 guys are right now. So that interests me. I mean, people have all been worried. They've got some guys, but we just don't know who those 6 guys, 7 guys are yet. The defensive side, Utah's always really good up front, but they're really unproven up front this year. They're really talented. They've got a lot of guys that will be really good. But who's going to be good against UCLA? Logan Fano, we know, can play, but who are the other defensive ends? Aliki Diamahi and Dallas Fakalahi can play, but who are the other 3 or 4 defensive tackles? So those are some of the things that kind of get me excited, and you can watch in camp and kind of go from there. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
So they talked about Devin Dampier and his, the Big 12 acknowledged that this is the newcomer of the conference. He doesn't seem to be kind of under the radar per se. People are aware of him. They're aware of what he's done. Are we setting too high of expectations? Are we making too much of Devin Dampier this early and without him ever playing at Utah?
I don't think so. One, because you're the quarterback on a top 25 programs team. So with that, as you know, Scott, with great honor comes great responsibility. You're the quarterback, so you're going to bear some of that. But I'm not saying he's going to put up similar numbers. I hope he does, maybe overall numbers. But his athleticism, Scott, translates. That's the thing. His athleticism translates. And you were at a spring football practice with me. We did the spring game broadcast. He's built a little differently, and people would say, well, hey, he did it against Mountain West Conference competition last year. Okay, there were a couple of pretty good teams in the Mountain West Conference, but he also, go back and watch the game New Mexico played against Auburn. Go back and watch the game they played against Arizona. He made 2 teams that are Power 4, Power 5 defenses look pretty silly at times last year. So is there too much hype? I don't think so. I don't think anybody's pegging him as the best quarterback in the league. That's probably Sam Leavitt because he's proven it at this level, won a conference championship. But to say newcomer of the year, I don't think that's out of line. He's a newcomer to the league. He put up prolific numbers. It wasn't like he was playing 1AA in the Big Sky. he was playing in the Mountain West, and that's a pretty good conference. And to be fair, he did it with a lot less talent than he's playing with here at Utah this year. So my expectations are high. I had a preseason ballot. I picked him as my newcomer of the year on the offensive side of the football. So I think he can be that good. But he's good, and I don't think that people are overrating him right now. I think he's properly rated. He's among probably the 3 or 4 top quarterbacks in the Big 12 going in.
So you look at his team, and it looks like the defense is going to play well. You were kind of excited about Devin Dampier. I'm excited about him. I'm buying into the hype. And one of the things I learned very quickly, I mean, the first game I ever played in the NFL, first preseason game, and I'll never forget it as long as I live. Because I didn't know what it was like. I didn't know what the next level was like, the top level. And then I got there. I go, this is football. This is football that I played my whole life. It's just a little bit faster, but the game isn't different. It's not. It's like I can do this, and I have to believe that's probably what Devin Dampier is going to go through. He's going to go, oh yeah, this is just football like I've always known it, and he'll adjust to it. But so you've got a defense that looks pretty solid. There are some inexperienced guys, but they seem talented. You got a quarterback. You're going to get some production from the offense. But there's one thing we don't talk a lot about, and that's special teams. Where do you think this team is in its kicking game and with special teams? Because it can crush you, and we've seen the crushing impacts, but we've also seen Britton Covey running back touchdowns to win championships. So we've seen both sides of it. Where is the kicking game with Utah right now?
Well, I'm glad you brought this up. The kicking game, the punt game, I'm not so concerned about, because when you're a good team with a good – you and I have had this discussion before. Sometimes you fall in love with specialists.
Right.
I want to be in like with my punter. Does
Right.
that make sense?
Of course.
Not in love,
yeah.
but in like with my punter. Because I want him to be punting. If your offense is good, he shouldn't be punting but, a few times a season, maybe inside of his own 20. And when Utah had those really good Pac-12 conference championship teams, that's kind of what was happening.
Yeah.
So I think they've got a good one. Ryan Phillips, another one of those pro kick Aussie guys, big, long leg, didn't punt last year at Missouri, but he played at Western Kentucky before that, and he was a good punter, and he's got a little pedigree there. The one I'm interested in, though, is the place kicker, Dylan Curtis.
Yeah.
And I know he was one of the top kickers in the country last year, Murray High School kid, state record number of field goals in a game, and a 63-yard field goal state record too. But you know this, in any position, but especially at kicker, whether it's a high school kid going to college or a college kid going to the pros, until you see him out there in live action, you just don't know. How many kickers have they've been All-American, Lou Groza guys, go to the NFL and shank a few. And I'm not saying Dylan Curtis will do that, but I'm curious to see how he does, just because all of this is new to him. Ryan Phillips punted for a couple of years at Western Kentucky, and he's been around. So I'm curious to see Dylan Curtis. But what I'm more interested in, Scott, on the special team side, because hopefully Dylan Curtis is kicking a lot of PATs, and you're not asking him to kick a ton of field goals. What will the return game look like? Because you brought up somebody interesting, Britton Covey. Utah's kick return game hasn't been as prolific in recent years as it was 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. And I'm very curious to see what they're able to do this year with that. There's been some talk of a guy like Smith Snowden playing some offense and maybe returning some kicks. So I'm really curious. I think the punt game will be solid. Dylan Curtis, he'll ease into it. He's a freshman. He'll be fine. But I want to see how the return game goes, because this. As much as a punter can flip the field, if you've got a good return guy, you can, instead of starting at your own 12 or 13-yard line, you might be starting at the 30 or 33-yard line. And Utah has had really good return guys down through the years, whether it was a guy like Reggie Dunn doing kick returning, or Shaky Smithson, or, you go to Booby Hobbs, who was always an adventure returning punts, and then, of course, Britton, who was just so good at it. If you you've got a guy that can do that, especially on the kick return games, if you can take it at the 30, 35-yard line, whatever, you can take that touchback. But if you can find somebody in that punt return game that can really get you 10, 12, 15, 20 yards from time to time, maybe once a game, that can make a big difference for your offense. And I'm curious to see what they can do in the return game this year.
Yeah, I'm too. And I just look at the conference, and, earlier I was having a conversation with Brett Ciencia from Pick Six Preview, and, he has Utah as 4 in the conference. He's fairly high on Utah, and he talked about the other, Arizona State returns, basically their team of 20 of 22 starters, and I think he likes Texas Tech, he likes Baylor, he likes Utah, and he goes, but they're all so similar. You could make an argument for all these teams, and so for me, I was just like, where are those areas that you're gonna be a difference maker? And special teams is one of those that could win a game for you or two during the season. Or if you have a defense that can turn the ball over, or you have an offense that can score a lot of points, and so you just find enough ways to win, right? And it doesn't have to be the conventional with your offense. And so I really think that kick game is important and something that really needs to be emphasized with Utah this year, and outside of the kickers. So I hope they find some magic there with with someone like Smith Soden that can be a difference maker.
Okay. Can I
Okay,
ask you a hypothetical?
please.
Can I ask you a quick hypothetical?
Oh, you can ask me. You don't even have to be quick about it.
You and I have discussed this. In fact, I think we had this discussion in the booth last year. Would you rather have a defense that was best in the league at third down defense, or have a defense that was, say, top 3 or 4 in the league in turnovers?
For me, it'd be turnovers.
Because Utah's defense last year, even with all that they dealt with, was unbelievably good at third down. They got teams off the field on third down, off the field. They were not just the best in the Big 12, one of the best in the country. But to Kyle's point, he talked about this, they didn't force a bunch of turnovers last year. They got a few late in the year, but they didn't force a bunch. But you see, I go back and forth on this, but you're a turnover guy. Are you a turnover guy because of the way it switches momentum and even sometimes flips the field?
Well, turnovers are third down conversions, so they're you basically have turned the ball back over to your offense. It's a shorter field typically. There's a psychological side to it, just the momentum of turnovers just kill you mentally. They just so often they kill drives, they kill confidence, they kill your ability, but they also give you extra possessions. You're cheating the system, you're robbing the system. You're actually getting more opportunities with your offense to go score outside of just the normal back and forth of a game. And so to me, turnovers are huge, and they have a huge impact as to the outcome of a game for so many reasons. To me, it's easily, getting turnovers, and Utah has been known to get turnovers and get pick sixes, and they've got a streak going now for years. And I want to say, Jalen Johnson's pick against Stanford that turned around the first year Utah went to the Pac-12 championship, that turnover almost was a turnover that turned an entire season and maybe the direction of the program through its latter part of the Pac-12. So to me, turnovers have massive impact.
Well, he also had that pick six against Washington up at Washington, remember? That it
Yep.
didn't necessarily seal the game, but it was a momentum changer that led straight to a touchdown.
Yeah.
So, and Kyle said this a few times, and Morgan has too, they've got to be better at forcing turnovers. When Utah's teams have been really dominant, they've been really good at forcing turnovers. It's great, and I'm again, I still vacillate back and forth. If you're elite on third down, that's still pretty good. But if you could be, maybe you're not elite on third down, you're really good on third down, but you're also really good at forcing turnovers, I think that's the win-win right there.
So to your point about getting off the field on third down, as anemic as Utah was offensively, they were that opposite and that good defensively, and that's the name of the game, is to get off the field. And you get off the field on third down, and it put them in a chance to win pretty much every game. I think you could maybe argue the Colorado game, but it put them in a chance to win within one score of every game that they played and lost. And they were horrible offensively. So yeah, there's a tremendous value in third down production and getting off the field. You could almost say it maybe they're equally as valuable, or because you want to be able, you got to get off the field on third. That's the name of the game for a defense. So I think you could argue both points easily. All right.
But to your point, yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm fine, because I was just going to ask you one last question, but finish this thought.
Fire away.
Oh.
Fire away on that question.
Okay. All I was going to ask is, camp starts here in a day or so, and you may wave your magic wand. What do you feel needs to happen in fall camp for Utah to have a successful season this year?
Well, they've got to stay healthy, but that goes without saying. You don't want. It's one thing to suffer injury, Scott, as you know, in season. But, man, you don't want to leave fall camp banged up. So, number one, stay healthy. I think they have to figure out who their pass game weapons are. I don't think they have any doubt. They're going to be able to run the ball with the quarterback, with the running backs, with that NFL offensive line. But they've got to figure out, you don't have to have 7 or 8 pass game weapons, but you better have 1 or 2 or 3 guys you can count on. So I think they've got to figure that out. And then for me, on the defensive side of the football, what's your rotation up front look like? Like I said earlier, they've got a lot of talent. It's young and kind of inexperienced. Who steps forward? Because we know when Utah's at its best, Luther Ellis and Lewis Powell and Morgan Scalley, they're flipping those guys. They're rolling those guys in and out of there. But you can only roll those guys in and out of there and keep them fresh if you trust the guys you're putting in. So I want to see what kind of depth they develop or what the rotation looks like on that defensive line.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting part of it. Oh, well, it's right around the corner. I mean, we're almost within a month here, so really looking forward to it, and really appreciate your time today. Always a great conversation. Always great to chat. Hope you have a great rest of your day.
You too, and let me thank our friends at Handy and Handy. They sponsor this segment on the Drive with Spence every week. Utah, 45 years of experience helping injured clients, range of personal injury matters, motor vehicles, ski accidents, you name it. Preston and Garrett Handy are awesome, and you can find them online at handylawutah.com. That's handylawutah.com, and I will see you out of practice, Scott.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Bill. All right, there you have it. Voice of the Utes, Bill Riley. Always fun conversation. Really good stuff. I love that talk. Around the corner, we got none other than former, I think he was the first or he's like the second or third pick in the 1989 draft. Basically, everyone picked before him and after him ended up as a Hall of Famer. Some people might argue he was a bust, but the guy played 8 or 9 years in the NFL. That's not a bust to me. Great conversation coming up with Tony Mandrich here on The Drive with Spence Checketts on ESPN 792.1 FM. All righty, sports fans, welcome back. It is The Drive with Spence Checketts here on ESPN 792.1 FM. Of course, I'm Scott Mitchell filling in for Spence today and the rest of the week. Oh, man, I've enjoyed today. What a lot of fun. Some great guests, some great conversations about sports. And, of course, you missed any of it, just check out the podcast forum. Go to ESPN700sports.com or the app, ESPN 700 Sports app. Of course, you get that wherever you get your apps and your podcasts and all that stuff, because you don't want to miss a moment of this. I hope you have a great rest of your night. Tomorrow we got an incredible show. What do we got, Porter, tomorrow?
Yeah, on a Tuesday edition of The Drive with one Scott Mitchell, we'll connect with you down at the home. Right?
Yes, we're going to be remote.
You're going to be remote tomorrow, but I'll be back here in the studio. Richard Smitty Smith will catch up with us, so you can talk a little jazz.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to talk about softball.
But Smitty will go anywhere with you. Chris Kamrani will join the show tomorrow. I don't know if you read Chris's piece over the weekend in the New York Times, but I strongly suggest it. There is a University of Utah football tie. Really, really good piece. One of the best writers in the game. We'll talk to him about that, and of course Camp Kyle getting going, and we'll go from there. We may hear from Trevor Riley tomorrow.
Ooh.
And a few other guys in the works as well. But Scott, Camp Kyle underway. We'll have sound for you later in the week, so still plenty to get to on the drive in the next few days.
Forward to it. Can't wait. I cannot wait for the rest of this week and everything we do. So thanks for all your help, Porter. You're awesome. Everyone out there, this is The Drive with Spence Checketts here on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Until then, we'll see you then.